Now, I do believe the Byrna is probably the best launcher out there. It's got the look, it's got the feel, and they tell me that it's the most powerful ever. What? You gotta be kidding me. That thing is weak. Don't you know? Hi everybody, welcome back for another video. I think it's about time that I start talking about specific launchers. I've been talking recently in a lot of generalities, and I think it's time to get back to these are some specific examples of launchers and that need to be talked about. And today's topic is a launcher that's been around for a while. I think this launcher is the most underrated launcher as well as the most overrated launcher. And let me explain exactly what I mean. It's the Byrna. The Byrna SD, the Byrna LE. These types of launchers have a lot of features that a lot of people like, and they're very popular. But are they really as good as the hype? My biggest concern about the Byrna launchers is the fact that Byrna overhypes these launchers. They make wild claims about power, unrealistic advertising, and I think a lot of that just sours me a lot about the Byrna product in general. And there's a robust base of people who are just very pro-Byrna. A lot of those folks are your firearm carrying folks who want a weak launcher, but they want something that very much mimics their firearm experience, that has the look, the feel, the ergonomics, and the fast activation with the CO2 using the trigger pull. These are all very positive, attractive things of why that population of people, and that's a very large population of people, really love the Byrna. So for no matter what negatives that you might say about it, there's all of these positives that are going for it, and there is a big population of people who do not want their less lethal launcher to be powerful. They do not want their less lethal launcher to be anything that's going to cause them more legal risk. And the Byrna is about as safe a legally option as you can choose. And it's become quite mainstream. It's become quite well known. A lot of people use it, even people within the less lethal community who are what I would characterize as jewel junkies and modders. A lot of those even have a Byrna, and they use it. So it's a very popular launcher, and so it's in some ways it's overrated in that all of the hype. There's a lot of people who within that big population who use it who may have unrealistic expectations of what it will do, and but they're willing to sort of accept that reality because it provides them something between harsh words and using their firearm. And some people want something that's a little bit more distance than a pepper spray. So they like that you can use a Byrna, and from 20 feet, the concept that you can reach out and touch someone. So with that said, I also think that it is very underrated in that a Byrna, even though it does not have that knockdown type of power, that's a good thing. From a legal perspective, that's a good thing. From the fact that you can pull something, a lot of times the less lethal community, especially the jewel chasing community, they forget that a lot of times it's just the fact that you respond. You respond with something, and for the majority of people who are harassing you or not committed to attacking you, those people can be deterred, they can be distracted, and you can get away very easily in a lot of situations. So it just provides that deterrent that most of the time don't even need to pull the trigger. And I do agree with some of the Byrna advertising on that part, because just having it, just firing it and hearing the pop, a lot of times people will turn and run, and that has a lot going for it. But the reason why it's also overrated is exactly the opposite, is that if you pull something like that that looks like a firearm and you start to use it and you're making a bet that that person is not going to pull a firearm on you. If you get into a gunfight with a firearm and a Byrna, it's a very bad situation. If that person starts firing on you, you are very vulnerable, and it is very high risk. And using it in any public place, you're risking the chance that a Good Samaritan turns and thinks that you're committing a crime, and you could get shot. So there is a high risk of using something that looks so realistic, like a Byrna, on your body and carrying it. And so for me, at the end of the day, that's why I always say it's not about the tools, even though there are some good tools and there's better tools and there's best tools. It's not about the tools, it's about your mentality. It's about how you think, how you prepare, having it on your body, how you're going to carry it, and when. It really comes down to knowing when and when you should not pull it. And having something like a Byrna may make you feel like the barrier is quite low. I could pull this thing, I can put a few shots into you over small things to defend against someone who's just verbally using words against me. Well, that's not going to go very well legally. And so I think there's a risk there with something that's too easy to use, and the activation energy is quite low for you to pull it and use it. I like the fact that some of the launchers take a little longer to access. They take a little longer to activate. To me, that gives you that extra level of thought process to make sure that you don't make a rush decision and you use your launcher too quickly. So the thing I like about the Byrna is that trigger pull. Everybody likes it. It seems to be so intuitive. Only negative that I can think of with something like that is that if someone did get a hold of your launcher, to use it against you would be very easy, because everyone knows how to pull the trigger, and they would. But it's a really quick activation with one hand, and that's very popular. It doesn't require you to do anything special to carry it other than keep it in a holster that protects the trigger so that trigger doesn't get activated. That's why I like that trigger activation mechanism, because your holster is going to protect that. We think about holsters a lot of times just thinking about them strictly for as a vehicle for carrying our launcher, but the real reality of a holster, especially with our firearms, and especially like, for example, with my Glock, which has no safety, the trigger is absolutely essential that it be protected inside a holster. And with a launcher like the Byrna, where it's trigger activated, having that in a nice holster is important, and the fact that it's a small size, I think that makes it just very intuitive and very comfortable for your average firearm user to say, well, yeah, I'm going to use the Byrna when I go into a place where I can't take my firearm, or for any other reason that they decide on that particular situation the firearm is not warranted, but the Byrna is something they still want to have something on their body. So I think it's a very good tool. I like the concept. Now, you can complain about Byrna's marketing. You can complain about where their parts come from. And with the Byrna, the big negative is you have to send it back to the company, because the thing is just very complicated on the insides. And I personally wouldn't take on the challenge of trying to service a Byrna myself. It is underrated in the less lethal community. So the less lethal people dismiss it. Oh, it's not enough power. No way I would use it. It's overpriced. And then the Byrna lover community say, well, it's perfect. It does everything, and it's very powerful. And the advertising that these are the most powerful launchers is absolute nonsense. I don't know how they get away with that. So that's why I think that this is one of those launchers that I like a lot about it. I wish that Byrna would just bring down their advertising to be realistic. I think it would go a lot better with the real less lethal community if they did so. I think the less lethal community needs to get over the idea that the only way to have a good launcher for your self-protection is high joules. It has to have X number of joules. That a lot of times it's just the fact that you respond with something, you deter, you distract, you get away. Plain and simple. Let me know what you think about the Byrna. It is a very hot button product on, it's either love or either hate in general, although I know some folks that probably are in the middle like me. But let me know what you think. I want to have more conversations about specific launchers as we go forward, because there's really a lot to discuss. And I'm afraid that a lot of folks get too focused on the gunsmithing parts of these launchers and not really talking at a higher level about really what they're good for. And so that's where I want to be. So everybody take care, be safe, see you next time.